worst persons in the world. The bronze to Senator Judd Gregg of New Hampshire. He has proposed legislation which he has somewhat cumbersomely named the Axe the Stimulus Plaques Act. Says he doesn't want projects funded by the STIM to have signs that reveal that they have been funded by the STIM. Stimulus construction signs, quote, are simply for political self-interest, says Senator Judd Gregg, who had no comment about his $500,000 earmark that led to the Judd Gregg Meteorology Institute at Plymouth State University, or the Judd Gregg Library established by the National Police Athletic League after he got it $150 grand, or Gregg Hall at the University of New Hampshire, which followed Gregg getting it $266 million in federal funds for the whole school. Our runner-up, Newt Gingrich, who has inadvertently outed himself, America's least intelligent, super genius politician, has launched a series of ads against Waxman-Markey, the clean energy reform bill in the House, claiming that the bill will push the economy to its breaking points. The ads are being produced by Gingrich's 527 group, American Solutions for Winning the Future. Problem is, records show that the Gingrich 527 group received more than $250,000 in contributions last year from Peabody Energy, a giant coal company which would have to clean up its pollution if Waxman-Markey is passed. That's Newt Gingrich in the pocket of big coal. But our winner, former President George W. Bush, unlike, say, us, the British Parliament is beginning an investigation into how the nation it serves got conned into the phony war in Iraq. And one of the discoveries in the preliminary stages, another Manning memo, another document from Sir David Manning, who had been then Prime Minister Tony Blair's foreign policy advisor and whose notes constituted the infamous Downing Street memo. Not much to Downing Street, the sequel, except that on January 31st, 2003, Blair and Bush met, acknowledged that it was increasingly clear that UN inspectors were not going to find any weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and that that would require a whole new rationale for the charade, because as Manning wrote in the second memo, Bush told Blair the start date for the military campaign was now penciled in for 10 March. This was when the bombing would begin. This is when Bush proposed to, quote, fly U-2 reconnaissance aircraft painted in UN colors over Iraq with fighter cover in hopes that Saddam Hussein would have his military shoot them down, giving the U.S. an excuse to invade. Failing that, Manning wrote, Bush hoped the Iraqi defectors, one of them at least, might be brought out to give a show and tell on Saddam's WMD, and then we'd have to go in because Saddam was still in charge, or worse came to worse, maybe somebody would assassinate Saddam, and then we'd have to go in because Saddam wasn't still in charge. The bottom line here, ever more certainly to become this president's legacy. He wanted war in Iraq, and then he went excuse shopping. President George Walker Bush, today's worst person in the world.